Okay, perfect. Hey, thank you so much, Eric. It's Erik Forrester and Jonathan Logan, and today is the 6th of February, 2024, and we're having a little discussion about my program, which is Stop Smoking Forever. Hey, Eric. Mm. That's a great question because what moved me was hearing that there were literally 480,000 people a year that die from smoking related diseases and smoke related causes. Number one. And second is the average person dies 14 years earlier than they would as opposed to if they never smoked. And the third thing is that the last 10 years of their life are often riddled with sickness and disease and cancer and heart disease and surgeries and chemo and suffering. So not only do they die 14 years earlier when they smoke, but they also end up with 10 years of horrible life before they die on average. That blew me away. And the fact that there's 480,000 Americans every single year dying like that, that's more than the combined 5 years of World War II of combat deaths for Americans. That just blew me away. There's a second part to that also, which was that in my family, I'm a non-smoker, my sisters are non-smokers, but our parents' age, they all smoked. And so what did they end up with? Cancer, lung cancer, heart disease, strokes, horrible surgeries and death. It's just watching that happen to my parents' generation really embedded in my brain. And I remember being in the car with the blue haze of smoke and going into every place, and they were smoking everywhere. Even in the airlines, the non-smoking section was in the back, but it's all the same air. Because so it really imprinted upon me just how much suffering is out there and how much exposure there was for a lot of young people. Because still, even now, thousands and thousands of people die each year from secondhand smoke, still to this day. Yeah. I think the hardest parts of stopping smoking forever, quitting nicotine, is the understanding that three things. One, first is that the nicotine only lasts for a couple of weeks. The nicotine addiction only lasts for a couple of weeks. Your brain flushes out essentially the receptors for nicotine. In 14 days, and we have a 14-day program, in 14 days, 90% of people have no more nicotine cravings if you locked them in a hotel room and fed them food through the door, right? They would have no more nicotine cravings, 90%. And virtually 100% have no nicotine cravings after a month. So it's not that difficult if you can just get through those few days, right? The second thing is that, and they don't know that because people misunderstand how cravings work, and they think that the second type of cravings, which is going to be your psychological and emotional cravings, are in fact nicotine cravings. They're not. No one is addicted to nicotine after a month, but they're addicted to the social and emotional associations that they made with the smoking of the cigarettes. So, going out with friends and having a drink, having dinner, relaxing, having a good time, rewarding yourself. All of these things that people associate with smoking are actually the things that they like. It's not actually the cigarette itself. And so the problem is that they come to believe that they have nicotine cravings 6 months out, and they don't. It's about the emotions of it that's getting them. It's about the trigger emotionally and psychologically to smoke. And what happens is this is the hardest part for people is to make that connection. Once they make that connection and they realize it's an association, then they're able to just blow it out of the water. The second thing I would say is identity. People say, I'm a smoker. And it's like, well, no, you're a human being that's having a smoke, but you are not a smoker because if you put down the cigarette, you're not smoking still. It's a doing, not a beingness. And when we shift that identity, suddenly they go, oh, I can just right now decide to be different. And then if I can get through the cravings, if I can crush the cravings, then I can become someone different who I really want to be. And then that opens the floodgates to all the other things in their life that they really want. Yeah. So, nicotine replacement therapy, NRT, is basically saying, I'm not going to go ahead and smoke. I'm just going to use a patch or something else. That's like going to an alcoholic and saying, hey, you don't have to drink. We'll just mainline the alcohol for you. How's that? It's like, it makes no sense, right? It's like, what are you doing, right? It's like heroin. Oh, no, we're not putting it in your vein. We're just going to like throw a bucket of heroin down your throat. That'll work, right? So, what's happening is that they're just prolonging the painfulness of it. They're just prolonging the addiction. And the thing that people don't understand is if you can separate the nicotine from the psychology, then suddenly that bond is broken and it's broken forever. So what happens is the patch and all the nicotine replacement therapies just keep them hooked, keep them addicted, and they keep associating the feeling of the nicotine with the social benefits and the emotional and psychological benefits of the things that they were doing with smoking. So it's really a bad idea, and almost nobody needs it because like I said, if we could lock someone in a hotel room for 14 days, 90% of people would have no receptors in their brain for nicotine anymore, gone, right? And if we get them to 30 days, we literally have virtually 100%. There might be an outlier, one person, Dave, who like needs an extra week, but for the most part, they're done with nicotine. But it's the psychological and it's the emotional dependency that's the real key. But they have blended those together, and so long as we don't break that bond, it's hard to free people from nicotine. Yeah. Oh, it is. It is. The patch, it's remember, here's the thing that I try and tell people. I'm like, look, the cigarette companies know it's harmful, know it's dangerous, know that if they had to get it passed by the FDA today, it would be an instant no go because 600 toxins, multiple carcinogens, horrible for your body, cutting off 14 years of your life and giving you a decade of misery and suffering on top of that. The fact is, though, they're making money every time someone picks up a smoke. They make money. They don't care. They're all about money. You're funding their retirements and their wealth and their happiness while you're draining your life from your body. Oh, as soon as possible. Every cigarette takes 11 minutes off your life. It's like, well, when do you want to start? The other thing is, it's sort of what I call the tripwire effect. You never know when you have triggered. You never, sorry again. You never know when you've triggered your genetics to bring on cancer or heart disease or emphysema or anything else like that. There comes a point at which you've crossed the Rubicon, so to speak. You've crossed the line and you're in the red zone and you don't know it. And you don't know it until the disease pops up. So the whole idea is the sooner you can stop, the better. It'll save you money. It'll save you health. It'll save you lifespan. It'll save you health span, which is like how healthy you are in your last years, right? And we talked about that. So it's like, this is really important. The sooner, the better. In fact, you're going to feel better. You're going to have more energy. You're going to look better, smell better. You're going to be, you'll have more life in your life. Right. Yeah. That's right. That's right. So I spoke with a doctor about this kind of stuff. And what the doctor said, she said to me, she said, people who say they'll quit tomorrow or next Tuesday or next week or after the big deal that they're working on, whatever, they never quit. Because what they're doing is tomorrow, as the old saying, the old chestnut, tomorrow never comes. Tomorrow never comes. And what happens is then there's another week of cigarettes, another week of addiction, and it's just you're just stuck in the spider's web, as it were. And so the real idea is to help people understand right now is the time to quit. Right now. And here's how you know. So here's how you know if you need to quit. If you're wondering if you should quit, that's how you know you need to quit. If you're not wondering whether you should quit cigarettes or not, then that's a whole nother conversation. Then we have an education problem, not a motivation problem, right? There's education and motivation. And if you don't think you need to quit, you never think about quitting at all, that's an education problem. If you're thinking about quitting and you're wanting to quit, which 95% of people who try and quit cold turkey fail and can't do it. 95%. The average person who tries to quit tries 7 to 10 times to quit before they're able to quit. and the cost and the expense and the time and the energy and the suffering of doing that is horrible. Instead, we can put you through a 14-day program. If you follow it, you will quit. That's it. Right. Yeah. So there's a spectrum of programs, right? So the spectrum of programs starts with cold turkey, which 95% of people fail. Then there's the nicotine replacement therapy, and actually, nicotine replacement therapy does help some small minority of people wean themselves off because they titrate down. And so the receptors are going down. It's very small percentage of people. It's almost like, I think, 6 or 7%, something extremely small. Then there's the community support programs and all the other programs that were put together by the healthcare companies and by the states that put together programs when they got the tobacco fund money, right? Because the tobacco companies were lying, they got caught at it, they had to pay billions. Okay, they made people die. That's bad. And so what happens is the most successful programs are multimodal programs, meaning that they do a combination of different things. And the more things that you can do that are applicable in the right sequence with the right way of doing it, the more positively you're likely to have as an outcome. Okay. So what we do is we do hypnosis, neurolinguistic programming, coaching, some cognitive behavioral techniques, exercises, motivation, and community support. And we do these things in the right way at the right time so they fit together like Lego blocks. And they're a natural sequence of these things. So they're ordered to create an impact over time. Now, are there some other programs in the world that work just as well as ours? Absolutely. Absolutely, there are. I'm not the only person in the world doing this. There are some others. But what I'll tell you is I'm about a quarter to a sixth of the cost of the other programs. And we're doing something very unique, Erik. We're also adding in things for deep optimal sleep, right? We're doing self hypnosis. You can train yourself to deal with anything you want in your life. We're giving you self mastery, physiological and somatic tools that you can use that are game changing for your physiology and game changing for your emotions and your psychology, and a whole list of other things that just aren't available around the world. So we have some really unique pieces that we've blended in with the other things in some of these high level programs, and then we radically drop the cost so that people can afford it. Yeah. 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 Right. That's right. That's 100% correct. Yeah. So what happens is there's really two pieces to this. The first is that if you don't have the tools, you can't use them. So imagine being a mechanic and all you've got is some guy that lives in a condo's little toolbox that has a screwdriver and a hammer in it and a wrench maybe and a couple of nuts and bolts. You can't really fix a car with that. But if you have the whole snap-on toolkit, right, the big box, then you can fix anything in the car if you've got the knowledge and the techniques. So what you have to have is you have to have the tools and the knowledge of how to use them. And that's what we do. We're giving people all these unique and game changing tools. And we're giving them the capacity to learn how to use them and practice doing that. And what that does is it kind of unlocks a perspective because most people who are smoking have more envision for their life. They have more things that they dream about, more things that they want for themselves and for their life. But smoking is kind of a glass ceiling for people because they feel trapped in it. And the more they smoke when they know they need to quit, the more they are sort of undermining their own self esteem and their own confidence and courage. And when you can turn that ship around and put them back in the driver's seat, what happens is they realize if I can stop smoking, I can do anything. If I can stop smoking, I can do anything. And that's a radically powerful change in the way they see their life. Right. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So that's a great question. So, these tools are tools that are mostly designed from people like Navy SEALs, high performance athletes, performers on stage, people who have to absolutely execute and maintain control of their emotions, their psychology, their physiology, and their thinking, and to be present full time. And when we give regular people like us these kinds of tools, it enables us to become so much more than we were. It enables us to literally take the 50-pound backpack off our shoulders, put it on the ground, and move forward with life faster and with more direction that we want. It is a whole brainer. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me throw this out. When a woman, let's say she's 50, gets a diagnosis, she goes from maybe having 1,000 dreams of her future, like seeing her grandkids and going on vacations and a cruise or hanging out with her best friends and playing cards or whatever it is that she wants to do. She goes from having 1,000 dreams to having one dream, which is to get well. That's it. And so part of the power of the program is putting people's lives back in their hands. In this world right now, it seems crazy and people don't feel like they have agency. They don't feel like they have control over what they want to do. And the fact of the matter is all control starts here. And when we can fully take control of our life from the inside out, it changes all the rest of our relationships for the better. It changes our relationship with ourselves for the better. It means we can do more, be more, have more, enjoy more, and live more fulfilled and live, of course, if you're not smoking, a longer, healthier lifespan, right? That's incredible. Yeah, thanks. So my goals for the program are to help 1 million people stop smoking by 2030, and then from there, it's just game on, right? And the reason is because, as I said, 480,000 Americans and tens of thousands of Canadians, die each year from smoking-related causes. Now we can't stop that all in one year, but what we can do is take a sizable chunk out of that and really begin to diminish the numbers. I think we can get to 1 million people stop smoking by 2030. That's really huge for me. And my passion about that is around helping individuals who want to do it. So someone says, well, who are you trying to help? I'm like, the person that's ready to quit. Every person that's ready to quit. The most important person is the person who's ready to quit. It's not about the 1 million people, although in aggregate, that's a beautiful thing. It's about the one man or the one woman who wants to quit. Let me tell you two quick stories. The first story is about a guy I met. I walked into a medical office to talk to a cardiologist, office manager, because my cardiologist recommended me to go over and do that. So I went over and talked to this other office manager. And while I was talking with her, I was speaking in the room where there were other patients waiting. And when I was finished, a man walked up to me and he said, I have lung cancer. Will you help me? Will you help me stop? I was like, yeah, I'll help you. And even if you can't afford it, I'll give it to you free. Let's do this. And it's like that's who we're helping. Now I'm not going to change the cancer profile, but I'm going to help them stop smoking so that it doesn't get worse or faster, right? And it's about the young mom who just realized, I'm pregnant, I need to stop, and I'm having trouble. I'm like, yeah, let's get that happening right now. Let's stop now. Or it's about the woman who just says, I got a diagnosis and I'm not sure what's going to happen with it because and they're going to do a biopsy and everything, but I want to stop now. Or my mother just died of lung cancer, right? Like my dad went through lung cancer surgery and it was horrible. It was so horrible. I don't wish it on anybody. And watching people die of COPD and emphysema, oh, it's just horrible. So I think I want to help whoever is ready, anybody who's ready. Yeah, yeah. So two ways. The first is that they can go to our website, which is stopsmokingforever.life, all one word, stopsmokingforever.life. And the second way is that they can go to loganhypnosis.com and they can go ahead and just hit the contact me button. There's a phone number there. There's a place to add in information, and they can just go ahead and reach out to me immediately if they want to. So those would be the two best ways. Right, right, right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, we're not talking getting someone off of heroin addiction. I don't know how to do that. Right? That's a whole other ball of wax, right? You know, someone's been doing heroin for 20 years. God bless them and get them to the rehab center. But you know, fundamentally, it's about everyday people with regular jobs who want to not spend $10, $12 a day on smoking that can save that and put that into a retirement or take their kids on vacation or pay off their bills or whatever they want to do with it. It's about empowering people to live the life of their dreams without the burden of the 50-pound backpack full of, regret. Yep. Yes. Yes. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate it. I look forward to our next conversation.